So that was our first port of call. Just get some of this type of product on eBay and see if it's selling.
Mm-hmm.
And we are starting to see some sales trickle through for these kind of new types of product. And then because we know that's the case, we can now move website and take a much more strategic approach with proper keyword research and build quality landing pages.
Welcome to the Winning E-commerce Experience Show, where it's all about creating a brand that your customers love so they keep coming back. This show is brought to you by DataCue. Your store experience begins with your homepage. DataCue improves your conversion rate up to 30% by showing each visitor a personalized homepage based on their interest. And now, your host, Shahram Anver.
Hey everyone. Today we're talking to a merchant who's put a lot of thought into their response to this pandemic. He's the head of SEO at TOAD Diaries. Isaac, great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we were just having a quick conversation about all the cool stuff. Well, I don't know how cool, but at least you guys have really put a lot of thought into this pandemic, which I think it's a refreshing thing to know when people are finding like all the sea of negativity kind of debilitating. But before
Yeah,
we
indeed.
jump into that, I think it would be nice just to give our viewers or listeners rather a quick intro. What do you guys do? What do you sell?
Okay, so I work for a company called TOAD Diaries, and we sell personalised and customised diaries and notebooks. Primarily, it's a B2C business, but we do some B2B as well. So, for example, there might be a company that needs 100 diaries for their staff and they want it branded in a certain way. So we do a little bit of crossover, but primarily B2C. And yeah, alongside that, just a myriad of different sort of personalized products like notebooks and things like that.
Great. And I mean, I guess like things were going along normally and you had your plans and everything, and then the pandemic struck. What was your reaction? Like, what did you guys do as soon as you figured out that this is going to be big?
Well, that has been very recent for us. That's been over the last couple of weeks. So obviously we saw sort of spike in Italy and Spain and the lockdowns there. And we sort of lagged behind a little bit. So this is all stuff that, is happening sort of as we speak, really. So we immediately start thinking about different ways in which we could continue selling our products online and hopefully improve sales, because following the announcements, the sales, you could see them immediately dip. They haven't dipped as drastically as we expected. They seem to have plateaued a little bit, and we're seeing a very small lift, but not as much compared to last year, obviously.
Right. So the dip you're talking about is purely just comparing this year versus last year, right? Or did you do like a month-over-month analysis as well?
No, it was versus last year, because obviously we sell diaries. Our business is extremely seasonal in terms of its peaks and troughs of sales. So it makes a lot more sense from our perspective to do year-on-year analyses rather than month to month.
I think that's a pretty I think that's already like a good nugget for everyone. So you should, when you're looking at your data, you should know what kind of analysis makes the most sense, because as we all know, data can really lie to you if you look at it with the wrong context, right?
That's and there's so much out there as well. I mean, Google Analytics, for example, it's so powerful. There's so much information and you can kind of get lost in it, like you say.
Right.
Yeah,
but
and it's just trying to find what works for your business in particular, rather than sort of taking generic advice that's out there on YouTube and blogs and stuff.
Sure. And okay, I mean, just coming back to that, it sounds like you said, there was a dip in revenue, but nothing too scary. So that sounds, I guess, relatively positive. So what did you guys do?
Well, so we've just started brainstorming some ideas and implemented a couple of them. So we thought, well, if people are going to be spending extended periods of time at home, they might want to sort of reinvest in their hobbies and stuff like that. So immediately we started thinking along the lines of sketchbooks, or even trying to promote just blank notebooks that we sell. So we've got like lined versioned, grid versions, all those kind of things. And we're thinking, the blank notebook could just be perfect for someone who's maybe wanting to just spend a bit of time improving their drawing. If they had a hobby in the past that was very much art orientated, then they might want to sort of rediscover that hobby. So immediately we started trying to push that on our eBay platform and more on our website. And we also implemented so we do personalized notebooks which are lined, and so we started to introduce the gridded ones as well, because we felt, again, perhaps for artists, but certainly for other people who might want to be, trying to learn a bit more about their maths in this downtime, because they've got so much downtime. So yeah, they were the original sort of tactical moves that we made to just try and make sure that dip wasn't as severe as it could have been.
So what it sounds like is that you didn't make anything in terms, I mean, it wasn't a crazy change, right? Like you're still thinking very clearly, very focused on your target market, which, appears to be artists and anybody who needs stationery. But then what you did is you tried to maybe do a little bit of a little change on the product to try to fit into potential use cases for people being stuck at home. Is that accurate?
Yeah. That's the kind of thing, yeah.
And did you use any data behind that? Or, I mean, I appreciate that this has all been very quick. So was it just like mostly intuition based, that you thought, hey, let's test this out and see if it works? Or did you just look at any like search terms and things like that to decide what products you're going to do?
So mostly it was intuition based. I mean, we've been selling for about 5 or 6 years, and primarily we sell data products. So it's sort of like refills and diaries that are actually dated.
Right.
And so we immediately but we do also sell sort of notebooks of various types as well. And so we looked into some of the analytics, and we saw we were getting some traffic there. And we were just asking the question of, like, how do we sort of maybe optimize that page or optimize that listing for what we believe would be, sort of long tail search kind of orientated market that'll be looking for something a bit more specific.
Right. Maybe just for people who aren't familiar with that term, what do you mean by long tail search?
Well, there's a lot of misunderstanding around the long tail. So long tail keywords are low volume keywords, rather than having lots of keywords within the query.
So the ones which are very specific, I guess, right?
Yeah, they're specific, so they tend to be low volume. They often do have lots of keywords in the query, but that's not why they're called long tail. It's because when you look at a market graph, you see typically in search the very generic things. Say if you're selling watches, your head term would be like watches, and that would take up a massive chunk of volume, and then you might have
And they're very
casino
competitive
watches.
too, right?
Sorry?
And they're also very
Yeah,
competitive.
and very, very competitive, exactly, yeah. And then you might have, Casio watches, which is a bit more of a sort of chunky middle. And then on the rest of the graph, you'd see this extended long tail of, I don't know, things like, digital Casio watches,
Black Casio swimming watch.
within my time zone or something. I
Yeah.
can't think of a good example off the top of my head.
Yeah.
But they're much lower volume, but because they're more specific, they're far easier to rank for. Because obviously with Google and the online platforms like eBay and Amazon, relevance is one of their key ranking factors. So,
Right.
So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think it's a really good takeaway as well. There's quite a few nuggets here because anyone in small business, I think, would agree that data is not exactly something which we have as a luxury, right? So if you're Google, you just have so much data that you can make decisions very quickly. But in this case, you have this pandemic and things have changed, but you don't really have weeks worth of data to make a strong call. So it's really cool that you guys just went back to sort of those basics and you thought, hang on, we know our customers. We've been doing this for 5 years. So I think our intuition is going to be a pretty good starting point. And then you went with that. And then now I guess you're in the process of just validating whether what you did is working or not. And based on that, I guess you're going to do some additional tweaks.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. So the easiest route to market for us is eBay. So we can knock up a listing within, sort of 20 minutes, depending on the amount of variations.
Right.
So that was our first port of call. Just get some of this type of product on eBay and see if it's selling. Mm-hmm. And we are starting to see some sales trickle through for these kind of new types of product. And then because we know that's the case, we can now move website and take a much more strategic approach with proper keyword research and build quality landing pages, knowing that should be able to rank with the relevancy on a lot of the long tail keywords that we expect to rise because I think people are going to be looking for exactly what they want rather than just sort of browsing the internet. If they're stuck at home and they're like, right, I really want a gridded notebook that's green, right, with my name on it or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not going to just put in notebooks and have a panda around. They're going to be like, I want to get this product to me as quickly as possible so I can start working on maths, or I want to get this blank notebook for my sketching, or indeed a quality artist sketchbook as well, which right, is an additional product we added onto eBay, which has had a few initial sales. So it's all about just with the website now, we'll be looking at these eBay sales and then analyze it in much more detail with the keyword research. And again, just trying to find those nuggets really, which are, there's enough volume to warrant building the web page itself, the landing page, and you're not, just trying to find something that has
sure,
10 searches on average per month. Just really trying to find those nuggets.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just volume versus relevancy.
Exactly, yeah. So looking at lower volume stuff, but that has enough volume to warrant us investing the time into it.
So the thing, everything which we've talked about so far is very SEO focused, and we know that kind of takes a little time, right, for Google to learn that your website is now relevant for these keywords and things like that. So did you guys do anything immediate, like say an email campaign to existing customers saying, hey, we've got these new products out, anything like that?
We didn't. We were in the middle of a campaign, and we decided that it would be insensitive to. So what we usually do is segment the various sections out after the initial campaign. So people who haven't opened, we'll segment them out, and then send them the offer again, kind of thing. We actually felt that was probably a little bit insensitive. It was just like a free shipping campaign, really generic. And so we put a pause on that. And what we've been working on at the moment is the idea around some sort of bond scheme, where it would be, we'd relaunch a brand new campaign saying, we understand times are tight for people out there. We understand you're sort of stuck in your homes and so on and so forth, and give them a really, really strong offer, much bigger than we'd ever done previously, but sort of say, that's like you've sort of got a bond with that product, and once this is all blown over, so to speak, we will deliver that product to you, kind of thing. So we wanted to sort of pause that previous campaign and take a bit more of a sort of, I guess, a more compassionate approach to it.
Sure.
So yeah.
I mean, would you test that out? Because I think these being very empathetic, I think in terms of messaging is hard. It's you have to come across being authentic. You don't want to seem like you're trying to take advantage of the situation and all of that. So
yeah,
how do you guys think about that? So you've been in business for 5-6 years, and it suggests that you guys probably have a pretty large mailing list. Would you do something like a test batch and just tweak the message a little bit, or would you just go for it?
How with every campaign we do, we do an A/B test on the subject line, and what we found over time is, so we would, going back about 2 years, we'd compare sort of, big flash sale versus something like an offer to you, our valued customer, if you like. And we found that the open rates for things like an offer for you, our valued customer, were much better than the sort of big shout in your face sort of flash sale.
I guess even more so today, right?
Even more so today. So yeah, I think we would take a smaller segment and we'd try a few different subject lines. And yeah, and we probably pop out of that. I think as well, what we've done with the website is, well, what we've had to do is obviously work from home where possible, but because we actually manufacture the products ourselves, some of the workers are having to go in.
Mm-hmm.
But there's we're doing it on a rota system.
Mm-hmm.
And we've put that up on the website.
I saw that, yeah.
To basically say, look, we're taking this seriously. We want to protect our own staff. We absolutely must protect our health service because, there is a capacity, and if this is left unchecked, that capacity will break essentially. And yeah, so these are the measures that we're taking in place. So I think that's kind of how we would go about just trying to communicate that to our customers. Again, we were thinking something along the lines of kind of, 40% off, so almost at cost.
Right.
We would be making very little profit out of it. So that would help us get actual cash in at the moment to pay the bills, so on and so forth. But at the same time, it would actually be a genuinely generous offer. It's just that unfortunately they'd have to wait for the products to come through, kind of thing. we were also thinking that it might be an opportunity for them to go, oh, great, if it's such a great offer, then I might stock up for Christmas, for example. Because times are tight, I might go on and get a series of books for different people, or a series of different products for different people further down the line, kind of thing.
Have you seen
So
any
we've
evidence
yet
of that, or is that still up in the planning stages right now?
That's in planning stages at the moment, yeah.
Right. Do you have any initial results to talk about? Or, I mean, I know this has all been very quick, but so for instance, has anyone written to you saying, hey, I really like that message you have on your website? Because I looked at the website before this call and I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, well, it's funny you should say that. We did actually see an increase in our conversion rate after that message was put up. So that was about a week ago now.
Excellent. Okay.
And it's, again, like you said earlier, the data can lie. I mean, it could have just been a case of it just so happened that this week the people that visited our site were more likely to buy. We don't know that yet.
Sure.
I think we'd have to leave it another couple of weeks, but certainly Google Analytics is showing an increase in our conversion rate as of the last week. So, maybe that is just people sort of obviously seeing that and noticing that we're taking it very seriously. And just being more perhaps inclined to purchase from us as opposed to somebody else that might sell a similar product that they might be looking at.
Right.
It's hard to say, but that's certainly what I've seen via the Google Analytics at the moment.
I mean, so far, I think that sounds very promising. If I could just quickly summarize what I've learned so far, as soon as this hit, just like we said, you guys really went down to intuition rather than relying too much on data. And you thought, hang on, what do we know about our customers? And then you came up with this hypothesis that because they're staying at home, we can change our products to match that. And then you did a whole bunch of initiatives, like you looked at SEO to really capture that new search behavior. You're working on a campaign now for email, so you try to be more compassionate. And I think the one I really like as well is that, just forgetting about all the sort of strategic changes, you are also very, I'd say, empathetic and very relevant on your homepage. I mean, you've taken up all of the space on your above the fold with a very, very poignant message saying, hey, your deliveries are going to be delayed. We're taking this very seriously. And so far in the last week, you've seen an increase in conversion rate. I'd say well done.
Yes, right. Thank you. I mean, the message that we put up on the homepage and the most popular landing pages was just to let our customers know what the case was. It just seems to be that a side benefit for us, again, somewhat anecdotally, but we have to wait to see what the next few weeks say in terms of conversion rate. But it does seem to have improved sell-through. So so we're quite happy with that.
Yeah, and I think this is very solid advice for merchants listening in. I guess it also really depends on what vertical you're in, right? Because in your case, I think it was, very creative as well. But I think you guys came up with a very good way to link it to the changing demand that people have. But I guess you might have companies that have very different products that perhaps may not be so easy, right? So
exactly, and which may take them much longer to bring a new product to market. So I can only talk from our own experience. So say if you're, I don't know, if you're JCB, for example, then maybe there'd be a new demand, out there, but it would take them, 2 years to deliver a new product. So it's not for every industry. But certainly, I think if you're a smaller business and you've got the ability to be flexible with your product base, then I think, it's you really try to think outside the box and do a bit of testing and see what you can get.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of creativity that's coming out right now. I don't want to say that, this is during this pandemic, it kind of brings out the best in us and the worst in us, right? And there's been
Yeah,
some very hard,
absolutely.
there's some very touching, sort of best moments which I've seen. Even from a business perspective, I've seen, like alcohol companies or just switching production lines to make more hand sanitizer, things like that, which is really cool to
Right.
see.
Yeah, right. Okay. I hadn't heard of that, but that's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I really really like the positivity, Isaac. So thank you very much. I think it's a lot of actionable advice for people. Do you have any parting thoughts that you want to share?
No, not that I can think of. Just my advice would just be more generically to individuals stuck in this sort of lockdown situation that we find ourselves in. Just find yourself a routine. Luckily, at the moment in the UK, we're allowed 1 day's worth of exercise. So, just try to plan that into your day. Maybe try to get your work done in the mornings and, break up your day so that you can, so that you're maintaining a good, your psychological health isn't suffering as well. That's what I would say.
That very often gets overlooked, right?
Yeah, because I think for a lot of people, it's kind of, if they're very active, this is kind of their worst nightmare kind of thing. And I would just say, just try build some structure around your day, and that's going to help you, if you are in business, make better decisions.
Yeah, I think that's very good advice. Even if you're a small business owner, instead of being like, I think we brought this up at the start of the podcast, rather than being stuck at home and sort of being inundated with all of the negativity, just any of the advice that Isaac said, I think that's a good way to just switch your mind to being more productive and say constructive.
Yeah.
So anyone who's curious about the site, it's toaddiaries.co.uk. That's TOADDIARIES.co.uk. You should definitely check them out. I think they've got a really great example on their homepage just to show how to do a very empathetic and very relevant message for people coming in, because I think that's the number one question on anyone's mind. Hang on, if I make an order on this site, am I going to get it? And do they care about my safety?
Yeah.
Isaac, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're still here, which means you definitely enjoyed that conversation. This is a special COVID-19 e-commerce miniseries to help small business merchants out there get prepared. We're doing a lot more of these, so be the first to know whenever there's a new episode. Just follow DataCue, that's DATACUE on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Stay safe out there, everybody. Till next time, this is Shahram.